So was that all just, you know, drunken sailors and?
Well, I can't recall having any trouble.
So you did not have a bad shore patrol?
No.
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 In fact, there was some fun parts.
There was some fun parts, yes. Right.
I guess one thing I want to make, it's a standard question I often ask, is what's your most sort of vivid memory of combat, I guess? Is there a particular vivid?
I've got a couple of those. Yeah, I came within 20 feet of not sitting here, I know that. I've written about this in that thing I gave you. We just almost bought the farm one night. And, well, I just very briefly, and it's in there, we were attacked about midnight by actually a Japanese Zero, it turned out. And he came in from the stern, and that's
and it's a kamikaze.
Kamikaze coming in. And that's you got 370 feet of destroyer, and he's coming in from the stern. He's got a lot of target. So we picked him up probably about 10,000, more than 10,000 yards away, probably. Well, maybe not. We took him under fire at 4 miles, I guess, 8,000 feet. And so we immediately kicked it up to flank speed, 35 knots, and we got him to the point where he was at the very last minute, very last almost seconds. We got him squarely on the beam, the port beam. We were going this way, and he had been coming this way, and we'd swung around, and we got him pretty squarely on, I mean as square as you could get him on the beam. And we have 2 smokestacks. And he came right between those smokestacks and cut an antenna wire between those. And I was 20 feet below him, right here below him on the top side. And he crashed 25 yards off, and stuff flew back on, and debris, gasoline, water, exploded, everything. And unbelievably nobody got hurt. And I was standing there, and I had a little bit of steel between me and him, but I mean on the side.
Yeah.
The guy that I played chess with, we were on the watch together. That was our GQ station, and it was over in a split second. He was gone, but you know, and then whoosh. That was my most memorable experience.
It also sounds like it was your closest call.
That was our closest call. But there were other times, especially one night, we were attacked for over 2 hours, off and on, by several. We were out on a picket station, just 2 destroyers, and I think it was 3 or 4 and small amphibious craft. And I don't know how in the world we survived all the attacks that we underwent that night.
Was this not during Okinawa and stuff?
This is all at Okinawa. Yeah. Iwo we did not have any kamikazes that I didn't see any kamikazes.
Yeah, we've sort of skipped over Iwo Jima, but since we're on Okinawa, I interviewed this very early junior officer Ray Taub, who was on these picket duties.
Yeah.
And Okinawa. And did your destroyer mainly do picket?
That's what we were doing.
That was your doing. That was very. I mean, most picket ships didn't make it, or there was a high.
Well, you see, that's what I just picked out 2 or 3 to show you. That's what happened to one of the ships in our squadron. We had 12 ships to squadron, and we had only 1 ship out of those 12 that didn't get damaged. We had 11 ships out of the 12. If we include ours, and we were lucky. We were awfully lucky. Ours took a little bit of damage, so it counts, right?
Mm-hmm.
but still, you had nothing like the damage.
No. Nobody got. No, that's right.
No one got killed on your ship from the.
Nobody got. We survived.
That's a remarkable record because.
That's the captain.
So some of it strikes me as luck, but some of it the captain really knew.
Oh, he could write the book, and he really did it. For example, as I as you'll see there in that speech, we were attacked, as I say, by several 2-engine bombers, and it was over a period of, over 2.5 hours. We shot almost 900 rounds of 5-inch ammunition during that period of time, and those are 5-inch. Those are hand load,
hand loaded. So.
I mean, to shoot that many ammo, well, we had to go back to get more ammunition. We depleted our bad, but we had them dive on us. We had them throw torpedoes at us. We had them bomb at us, and we were all over the ocean, trying to keep up with things. We had them coming in from both sides, and this 2 ships, 2 destroyers on a picket station, and yet we did not take any hits. The ship that we relieved was hit the night before. We relieved it. We stayed there 3 nights, and this was the last night that this happened. And so we were out of ammo. So we got to...
You literally had to leave.
Had to leave. We were relieved by somebody else. And that very night, that ship was knocked out of the war. It was hit, and they lost. They had, I don't know, 70 some odd casualties, I think. We were bookended by 2 of those. And I don't put it to luck necessarily.
No, you think the captain really had the skill?
I think that captain just was so knowledgeable, and he did write something for the other skippers. He says, "This is what I do," and his method was speed and maneuverability. We had twin screws, and you can really get around. You can really...
Well, that's one of the things I've read, that the destroyer was extremely maneuverable.
Oh,
what you lacked in sort of heft,
right,
you could really move a destroyer very quickly.
Oh, because you had twin screws.
Yeah.
You had a forward engine room and an aft engine room. You could really whip it around. So a lot of them at night, some of the captains like to go very slowly and report, because they didn't leave any wake. When you're going 35 knots, you're leaving a lot of wake, and it's easy to follow and easy to spot from at night by plane. And especially if he knows approximately where you are, because the stations are all...
Well, part of the point of the picket duty is, in fact,
that's right,
to serve as a picket. So you're even in a
oh yeah, you're
very vulnerable, because
I thought I had a little chart in here with showing the picket stations. Maybe not. Maybe I didn't. Well, I guess not. Anyhow, these picket stations we had 16 of them, and they were located about from anywhere from 30 to 75 miles away from the harbor, like the spokes on a wheel. Then we had destroyers on the inside as well, inside that. But the ones way out there were completely vulnerable at night, especially. In the daytime, we did have the combat air patrol, fighter protection, but they couldn't handle it. They couldn't necessarily handle them. They had too many of them. First, on April the 6th, we had 700 planes come in one day. 700 Japanese planes. 354 of them were kamikazes. This is documented by an official Navy historian. And we had, I think, 29 ships hit that day. The pickets were lucky that time, because that was in the early stages. They wanted to try to get the troop ships that came in, because it came in all the way to the anchorage. A lot of them most of them got shot down before they got there. Not near, I mean, those Navy pilots and the Marine pilots had a field day, especially way out before they could get close. They shot down hundreds of them, but they started out with 700. So as time went by, though, they realized that they weren't going to make it to the anchorage because there's too much. We had too defense, so they started picking on the picket ships, and that's when you had like one of our sister ships, Aaron Ward, was attacked by 32 planes, and she was hit by 6, and we towed her in 73 miles, I think, at night, and that was unbelievable because we had bogeys, and that time we couldn't make any speed. We were only making 5 knots, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we were slowly getting the ship back, trying to get it back, and there were bogeys in the area, but we held fire. We couldn't. If we'd opened up fire, it would have given our position away.
Mm-hmm.
So that was touchy, very, very dicey. Things like we had a lot of others which we knocked them down before they got to us. Several. I think we had a total of 12. I believe we're given credit for, and we had 3 that we pretty sure we did, but couldn't absolutely say for sure.
Going back, because when you were in Hawaii, you said you got some sort of notion. You'd heard that there was such a thing as kamikazes. No.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, when we were EWO,
it was EWO that you. That's when you.
Yeah, and this was happening in the Philippines.
Yes. Yeah. When you first heard about this concept, what did it fully register?
Oh, not at all.
No, I didn't. I had Nimitz put a news blackout on it.
Mm-hmm.
When they started this program in October of 1944 in the Philippines, they hit 4 of our light aircraft carriers, not the big, the light ones, and killed over 1,000 guys. And immediately Nimitz put a news blackout on everything, and the correspondents were not allowed to, and the newspapers were prevented from saying anything about this. And so everybody thought the war in the Pacific, they were rah rah rah, VE Day, May the 8th, everybody was saying, oh great, we whipped those heinies and the war will be over any time now. But this was by far the worst costly battle in the U.S. Navy's history. We lost some.
Almost 5,000 killed, and almost that same number wounded. And I think there were almost 400 ships hit. That's powerful.
No, it's interesting because I think in the popular consciousness, I did not have a full appreciation of two key battles. I think the Battle of the Bulge. I had a much different appreciation interviewing combat soldiers, and the Okinawa for the Navy's war.
The news blackout. That's right. The news blackout was it. Let me just see.
That was the whole, and the guys didn't write about it until he was all over. Let me see. Well, I'll just read you to lift a little bit. This is the guy. This is one of the books. This is a fairly current paperback, but it was published originally in '92, written by a guy by the name of Pfeiffer. Yeah, George Pfeiffer. No. The title of the book is The Battle of Okinawa and the Atomic Bomb. He writes, the American hardship on Okinawa never won rightful recognition. I hope my account of it will give a new generation a hint of the fighting man's terrible ordeal of the toil, terror, and misery. Their accomplishments in the face of appalling adversity remain hardly known by the general public to this day. And he goes on to say that he thinks that due to it took 60 days longer to take Okinawa than they had planned. He says, indicated that the prolonged and unexpected ferocity of the battle could very well have triggered President Truman's use of the atomic bomb. And I do believe that had a lot to do with it. Because had we gone into Japan, as I've written here, you wouldn't believe what they had waiting for us. it was going to be make Okinawa look like a picnic.
I should sort of go back because we sort of skipped to Okinawa,
Yeah,
but you were part of your ship was part of the invasion of Iwo Jima.
Oh yeah.
And could you describe your
Sure.
sort of ship's role and how you sort of fit into that?
Sure.
Because that was sort of your first combat.
Okay. So we go. We're in Pearl, and we proceed to Inuitak and make up with the group that was going to invade Iwo Jima. And that consisted of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Marine Divisions. And we escorted them to Iwo Jima and watched them as they hit the beach on the 19th of February. And initially it looked as though they were going to just go right on through it because the Japanese didn't even fire at them. Hardly.
Mm-hmm.
There was some. I did see some mortar fire splashing down amongst the landing craft, but yeah, you didn't really know what was going on. They waited until those guys got ashore, and they had trouble getting up over through this ash, this volcanic ash, and it was up over a slope, and they couldn't get their vehicles. Their track vehicles to climb that thing, to get up over that. And so eventually they did. They scrambled and got up there. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. Because that thing is only 4 miles long by 2 miles wide, I think it is. Very small island. And Mount Sarbachi is here and the rest of it. But every gun and mortar and everything was zeroed in on certain spots, and they just made mincemeat out of those guys.
Now,
we sat there and watched them.
You didn't have any Marines on your...
We had no Marines on our ship.
So you had no role in the landing itself? In the sense of...
No, we were very on top of the island, though. We were right on top of it. I mean, as close as we could get.
Yeah, and would you do fire missions?
Direct fire, right?
Direct fire.
But we had to wait until the observers, both aerial and ground observers, could start. We looked and we found bunkers ourselves just by looking, and we'd take those out.
Yeah,
you can take them out with a 5-inch shell, but that wasn't. They were 7 stories down.
Yeah,
I mean it was honeycombed. You wouldn't believe, and that place was bombarded for days and days by battleships and bombers, and they just went underground and it didn't affect them. I bet you we didn't hurt hardly any. It was all, they had ways of just disappearing, and everything was underground. And all of a sudden, you might see, the Marines are the ones that saw it. They had all these spider holes around, and they'd pop up and then they'd disappear, and you couldn't, and guns would roll out and roll back, and you know they'd be in tunnels and they'd roll out and shoot and go back, and so the Marines lost almost 5,000 people killed and over 25,000 casualties.
Being aboard the ship, what sense did you have of you said you could observe the battle at times.
Unbelievable. It was like a movie.
That was your sense of it. It was.
And well, we were getting shot at some, but not that way. The Navy lost almost 1,000 men and had almost 3,000 casualties, I think. But that was small potatoes compared to what those Marines were going through. And we were over there at the base of Sarabachi supporting that group, and they called us off as they were going up, and they got up. And that was the early days.
And then your ship's role, in a sense, was finished for that.
Well, no, we went elsewhere.
Went elsewhere.
Oh yeah, and we would in daytime we'd fire, and at nighttime we fired illumination shells. We'd fire a shell, a light, and it would parachute down slowly and light up the area to let the Marines know that whether or not there was anybody coming. Because the battle line was established for the night, and tried to keep it illuminated over the enemy so they could see.
Which must have been because things are so blacked out. This must have been a very eerie sight. These illumination shells.
Well, you can't strike a match on a ship. You know?
Yeah, no, exactly. Lights are all muffled.
Real dim. I try to keep my log right with the.
So when you're shooting these illumination, it must have been. It was
like 4th of July.
So like what I'm thinking it was in fact that was.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. But that was, and we saw a lot of action with flamethrowers, Marines using flamethrowers, and you know they were close. It was just, well, it just kept you with a pit in your stomach all the time watching those guys go through that. But I tell you that not enough praise can be put on those guys.